Meeting order.
Casey, for approval of agenda, would you, we have a few on-table items, I think, if you could provide council with the proposed recommendation for approval of the agenda.
Okay, we would ask the council approve the agenda for the July 23rd council meeting with the addition of the following on-table items. Under public comments, item 3.1, you've got correspondence from Don Marshall, which is an update to council on SWRMAC business. Staff reports, item 4.2, you've got a report from Tina Nielsen, the chief librarian, regarding the library infrastructure project grant application report. And under business arising from minutes, item 6.1a, there's a variety of correspondence from the public, which is in regards to item number 6.1 on the agenda.
We would ask council to approve the agenda plus these on-table items.
Also moved. All those in favor?
And now, Casey's favorite part of the meeting, we have adoption of minutes. And our first minutes are the minutes of the special council meeting on June 25th, 2012.
Page 3 of the first set of minutes. I'm just wondering for clarity in the note, Mayor Adler further noted the official presentation would take place at the joint BMI Trust meeting being held September 11th. The joint meeting is only during part of the Islands Trust Council, so it's during, so insert after held during the Islands Trust Council meeting.
Okay.
And that way the public will know the Islands Trust is meeting here as well. And the other are just a couple of little typos. So I would move that the minutes of June 25 be adopted as circulated, as amended.
I'll second that. All those in favor? Thank you.
And next we have the minutes of the regular council meeting held July 9th, 2012.
Under public comments, did Janet Rosenberg really ask us to hold an advance provision of such?
That was what her letter indicated, and
She
she
did
read
say-
her. She read
Yeah.
her
She
letter.
did say provision, yeah, just, okay then. And did she really say bed and breakfast operations?
I don't think she did, no.
No.
On the next page, to operate their bed and breakfast operations?
No, it's not a bed.
That's not,
It isn't a bed and breakfast,
It's
yeah.
not.
okay.
And then on page 9 or page 3 of the minutes, page 9 of the agenda, the motion about Davies Orchard, resolution 12-159. Don't think the words Snug Cove were in the motion. We just, because Davies Orchard Cottage is as laid out in the Bowen Municipal Land Use Plan 2002 period. Because I think Snug Cove was part of the original that we amended.
Okay.
And then I was curious about the bylaws. The first one, discussion ensued, the mayor requested further input prior to the adoption. Was he looking for further input, or was he wanting further input in that? Are there any further comments?
Well, this is, we needed to request further input
Okay.
because of the type of bylaw it was. That was the reason it was asked.
And I wondered if we were missing a word under recommend on the next page. Recommendation from Community Land dated July 3, 2012. Council reviewed the recommendation from the SWRMAC as outlined in the July 3, 2012. I think the word report is missing.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was just a couple of little typos.
I'm just wondering.
So I will move the adoption of the July 9th minutes as amended.
All those in favor? Thank you.
Oh,
Our next item of business is public comment. Casey, who do we have in our public comment list?
Yes, we have 3 public speakers. The first 2 are Don Nicholson and Graeme Richie.
Good morning. So, Rick, are you joining me? We're here on behalf of representing the building committee and board for Snug Cove House, and specifically to discuss and seek your guidance on the water issue related to our site. We're at the point now with our pro forma and our due diligence on the financial side. John Green's in the audience from our chair of our building committee, where we need water to proceed with the project. Yours probably is familiar with our history, as we seem to be familiar with what we understand to be issues related to Cove Bay water. What we seek from council this morning would be a letter of support and authority to meet and engage with, in conjunction with staff or independently, with the engineers that have been retained for Cove Bay water, so we understand it day and night, and see how through engineering practices in water reduction, storage tanks, low flow fixtures. We need the water for firefighting anyways. We need a hookup for that, for fire protection. But to meet with the engineers and see what solutions might be available, what we can do to get water to our site to enable the project to proceed, which I think there's general unanimous support in the community to have happen. So this morning we're seeking that letter of authority to meet with the engineers in conjunction with staff or independently, and we're prepared to, because there'll be some costs involved knowing the engineers, we're prepared to fund through our resources any costs associated with exploring what might be some alternative solutions or a solution to get water to our site. That's the thrust of our presentation this morning.
That was it.
That was it. Okay.
I would suggest I'm starting interviews this week for our new municipal engineer, which will be the manager of development and operations. And I'm hoping to have that position in place no later than September 10th. I think it's a bit premature to authorize that meeting with date and night at this point in time. It certainly would be council's decision, but my advice is we could make that the first task of our new municipal engineer to deal with. We do not have the staff resources right now to...
We understand. Yeah. No, that's why we're preparing to fund and coordinate it ourselves. Yeah.
That really makes sense to me, because part of that person's first job is going to have to be bringing them up to speed on the Cove Bay water issues, and that's an ideal format in which to do it. Is a month too long?
Do you think that during that month that we could do some exploratory work and have some, have a little dossier prepared to give the engineer, so that's part of?
I mean, we do have our infrastructure committee in place as well. I would suggest meeting first with the infrastructure committee, and Councillor Lucas is our representative of the infrastructure committee, and see how this is one of the reasons they were set up, was to kind of start facilitating these issues.
So would the infrastructure committee be able to give us authority to meet with the engineer, or
well, I think I can probably do that once maybe I've had a chance to discuss such with the infrastructure committee.
Okay.
I think moving ahead. But I do, the two we're interviewing, we received 17 applications. 2 look very good that we're interviewing this week, and they both have municipal water experience as well, water systems.
Okay. It's just that we're
Yeah,
prepared
I know.
to do some preliminary work, and we have the time, and,
Perhaps we could set up a meeting with myself,
Let's
Councilor
touch base
Lucas,
this
and the
week.
infrastructure committee and yourself.
okay, all right. Touch base this week, that sounds good. All right.
Could we have a report from Dayton tonight, do we not, an update on the Cove Bay water? I mean, would it be applicable to provide that to Donna?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So
Is that the 09 report, or is there something that's been done? Because we had the 09s on the, we've got that.
Okay, I'm not sure whether there was an update to that or if it's online.
We can check into that, but maybe we suggest we set up a
Yep,
meeting. And
okay, well, we'll get a meeting going with Cove. Great.
Bill Hamilton, who is
Bill's away, yeah.
is
my neighbor.
very familiar with it.
Yeah.
He's away until.
Yeah, and John's on the committee.
So technically, let's talk about this
Okay,
later this
you're
week,
around
and
this
then we'll
week.
set it up.
Okay, perfect, great.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
That concludes the public speakers.
And next, we have our chair of our solid waste resource advisory committee. Take a look at one.
I'm sorry, I missed
I
that.
don't think I got the complete name of the committee right, but
SWRMAC
there we
does
go.
swirlies, whatever you want to call it. Mayor Adler and councilors, happy to be back with you again this morning. You have in front of you my brief report, and there's not a lot to go over. The food scraps program is going ahead famously. The second week, we went from 200 to 500 houses the second week, and the third week, in conversation with Louise on the weekend, was even better. So it's going good. Have been a few little bumps, but by and large, it's working well. One thing I did know from Louise on the weekend was that the Bowen Waste may be underestimating the number of trips they got to make to do the collection in one day. It was a number of trucks out all at once doing that. The Education Subcommittee, which some of our members of that committee have been away, will soon have a program to promote, excuse me, promote and support home composting, which is still a prime interest of the committee. We had a workshop meeting with Dr. John Paul recently, who is runs a company out in the Chilliwack area that deals with composting. It was very useful to us in helping us to look at our plans for an organics processing facility. And we are preparing a report for council about these plans to be given at a closed meeting in October. Subsequent to that council meeting on point 5 here, we propose having a public meeting in October to explore the feelings and wishes of the community about the issue of organics collection and processing. And Kathy, I have a connection into you so that we can talk about how that might come about.
Sure.
Lastly, I've been in contact with Dr. Bill Rees at UBC. One of our concerns, which has been expressed to us by a number of people from the community, is the concept of bringing things to a bird site as a transfer station concept might increase the carbon footprint. So we've begun that contact with Dr. Rees. He's very generous and has suggested that we might involve one of his students to do a study for us. And I'm assuming a student wouldn't cost us much or anything to do. That's the basis of my report, Council. I am interested in what other information you might like to have from our committee.
Can I just, without addressing that question, just throw in a comment that Dave McIntosh, I had a discussion with him over the weekend, and he was pointing out that we've gone from 200 pickups of organics in the first go-round, or just over 200, to over 800 on the last go around, which I think is absolutely outstanding, and speaks to the work that your committee has done and is continuing to do. I think that's absolutely fantastic. One of the things that he was saying was that it's working so well in a sense that although we talked about the commercial collections being sort of downstream to be dovetailed into this, that essentially 80 or 90% of commercial people were on side with getting this going sooner.
Yes.
So whether that shouldn't be sort of part and parcel of how it moves forward.
Right. Yeah. And an important part of the commercial part, we will have very shortly a pretty good idea of volume of food scraps, which it's necessary for us to know that so that we can design the facility, because you gotta have food scraps plus yard trimmings plus wood waste. And the commercial, we had no idea previously, but they're coming on and we're getting information about that. Really encouraging to me that the commercial has said, yeah, well, we want to be part of it. Why are you keeping us out? It's what they're requesting.
Well, my budget question about the commercial.
Yes,
They pay right now to have all their garbage picked up and collected.
understand.
So if we lump them in with, they'll love to be on board because it's gonna save them a lot of money because they're not paying for that as a separate service.
It's an issue that we have on our plate,
As a
Councilor
society.
Morris, and we don't have an answer for that yet because we don't have the metrics about how that plays out.
As a member of the committee too, through the chair, the issue of possibly commercial downloading costs to the municipality is first and foremost on our minds, and we're going to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Any further?
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you, Bradley.